we should finish the show by looking around Europe. I know you want to get to Turkey at the end, so that's where we'll go last.
Yeah.
But for now, it is kind of fair to say that by comparison with the Premier League, it's been tame enough, hasn't it, around the big clubs in Europe?
I think that it's been a summer punctuated by, across world football, the Premier League has dominated in terms of money, transfers. I mean, there's still been some big moves like on the screen. Mastantuono, he is a Real Madrid player now, isn't he? In that regard, the Argentinian young superstar. I'll be interested to see how he does. Barcelona, who we've talked about for many moons. I mean, Marcus Rashford on loan. You know, that's the type of thing we're talking about there for them. It's not really overwhelming. Napoli, who won Serie A last season. I mean, Højlund and De Bruyne are the two biggest names really ended up there, who were discarded by United, and De Bruyne was always going to leave on a free. Even Bayern, I mean, they missed out after winger, didn't they, or different players. They didn't get Florian Wirtz as well. End up with Luis Diaz, you know, who they're paying a hefty wage, so he's got what he wants, and we got a good dollar for him as well. And Nicholas Jackson, do you know what I mean? A Chelsea cast-off. That's where Bayern are at, as they're almost back up forward. So I just think in terms of when you talk about Europe and how we've seen it historically, and yes, we can talk about Galacticos and different bits, and it might well change because football tends to work in cycles, as we know, but for this summer, Barca have tried to repair their finances a bit. Real Madrid have been focused on the stadium, you know, and all that project and building and money that way. Yes, I mean, they still bought, obviously, our former player on high freeze, and they might well do that in the next window as well. But the Premier League, largely, has been head and shoulders over the rest. And the biggest clubs in Europe, they've probably let us down a little bit this window, haven't they?
Feels like that. You know, I saw some stuff just before we moved to our last two stories, which are Saudi, and then we'll finish with Turkey. I saw some people mocking up images of Isak in a Real Madrid kit and saying, "Oh, 3 years' time if he does this," and like, it's so stupid. It's so unthinking, because everyone with a brain was replying, "Well, if he does that, we'll have won a few leagues, and he'll have done brilliant pull-up trees for us. Yeah, we'll just take a huge amount of money off Real Madrid. Thanks very much." And you and I both know there's at least one player that we haven't really mentioned on this show because we don't want to talk about it. There's nothing official about it. We've talked about Ibu, but there's at least one. You don't have to be a genius to work out who it might be that might actually move to a big Spanish club as well. And it's unsettling, but you have the heart now that if we do lose someone from the midfield, we'll go and get a Wharton. If we do lose someone from the back line, we'll go and get a Guehi. It feels like we will just do business as we need to do to maintain the status of the club as it is. That's really heartening, Dave. It's a good place for us to be. I don't know if you want to comment on that. If you do, please do. But if not, let's move across to Saudi, because, Jesus, talk about a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, wasn't it? I mean, from how this has shifted in terms of when it first came into our radar this 3 years ago, and it was the paradigm shifted, and they were moving for Mbappe and all the big people, to almost this window where you thought, what will they do? Because it's Club World Cup year, wasn't it? That happened, and they wanted to make a splash there. And there wasn't even like a ripple effect, really, was there? Was just practically nothing, probably punctuated by Victor Osimhen turning down 6 different offers from Al Hilal, other footballers rejecting them as well. Players in Dubai coming back to Europe, wasn't it, ahead of World Cup year at the same time? And maybe, and God bless Darwin, what a player, what an effort, gave us some magic moments. But I think it was quite telling that even for him, this was right at the end of the window, wasn't it, when all other options had been exhausted, like Napoli couldn't work, Atletico Madrid. It was kind of Al Hilal will sit on the bench type of thing, wasn't it? So he made that move. But it was interesting because it wasn't really the money issue. They still drove truckloads of money up to players' houses and made those offers. But the shine on that new toy has well and truly gone, hasn't it? For players, for agents, that type of thing. No one is really looking to Saudi anymore. And do you just wonder, next summer, have their rulers just given up on it a little bit? Have they just lost interest? I think we'll stick with, the boxing, the golf, all that type of thing. That even, who their owners are, obviously, in the Premier League, they've not tried to buy it or be the disruptors at all, have they? They've just kind of settled in there a little bit. So, yeah, there is a real, for our transfer show, sense of disappointment. It's not really been anything Saudi-based to shout about at all.
Weirder still, given the Club World Cup thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure they would love to be building on this, and there's a World Cup. That was the idea, wasn't it? It was supposed to be this long, many years long project. But like you, I get the feeling that it's sort of gone to a lesser priority. Maybe they're seeing, well, we'll just buy our assets in the Premier League, like Newcastle type things, and see how that goes. Look, who knows? We're only speculating, but definitely a disappointment compared to what it had been in the past. And we should finish then with a reference to some of the Turkey stuff, because interesting that some business went on around there. Some big names now playing in that league. You've mentioned the Bashkans and their influence on several occasions. It's kind of an interesting thing because it feels like, I don't know, has that league got a little bit of cachet now?
It's funny, isn't it? And there's this article on the screen, if anyone wants to read it, by James Benji. He did it for CBS about how finance in the modern world has just changed with Turkey. And as it says, Galatasaray and Fenerbahce can outspend Europe's big clubs because of real estate deals, the way debt works in Turkey, the Turkish lira, all sorts of things. But Victor Osimhen's ended up there. Leroy Sané's ended up there. Ederson's there, isn't he? Gundogan. These are big names in world football that have ended up in this league, absolutely being paid an absolute fortune at the same time. And it's funny because the Bashkans are mentioned in this article. There's a bit I love where it says, the Bashkans don't care about their club's future. They care about the here and now. They're presidents who are elected, and to stay elected, it doesn't matter about rocking up debt and then restructuring it. It's just about getting the players in. No one kind of profiles for the down the line in Turkey, which brings excitement for us like it has done. The only other thing to say on this is the Turkish window is still open apparently till the 12th of September, Trev. So they might maybe just make a few, you never know. And the one that apparently they've reached out over, do you remember Ademola Lookman, who's had a bit of a nightmare time at Atalanta and didn't get his move to Inter? They have reached out over him apparently at the same time. So, yeah, they have brought the Bashkans, Turkish football, a bit of joy to us. I mean, Mourinho went at the same time as well. But the other thing to note, Big Ange has been linked with his job, so maybe he may end up there. And maybe if he looks and thinks, well, I've got a keeper like Ederson and others that are coming, maybe it looks attractive. So, yeah, Turkey are probably one of the biggest risers, if not the biggest riser, this window in Europe.
Yeah, it's like there's been a little bit of a pivot. You can understand, right? If they can offer good money, they can also offer Champions League football. That's huge. Yeah. That's a huge thing for cachet and for player expectations of where they believe they are in their career. So yeah, it's absolutely one to watch. Look, man, it's so crammed with information as ever. I feel like there's loads more we could have talked about, but I think we've put a lot on the table there for people. It just feels as if we've kind of won this portion of the season for what it's worth. Now, of course, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating, which will be the performance of these guys that we've bought. Let's see how they go. It's hard not to be very upbeat about it, though, Dave. It's hard not to be very optimistic when you see the likes of that beautiful bastard there in his new Liverpool kit, lining up alongside Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike and Jeremy Frimpong and Kirkez. It's very exciting.
He's brilliant. It honestly is that. Again, if you go back to what we thought it could be at the start of the window as to what it is now, it is just exciting. And even this season, as we've seen, we've been pretty bad in games at times, haven't we? We've not played well. That's a fair assessment. And we're already 9 for 9. And the rest of the Premier League is sat there thinking, shit, they've not even played that well and they're 9 for 9. What's actually going to happen when they click into gear, when Isak comes into the lineup as well, the Reds could just be winning it all. We'll just have to see this season.
Well, I would like to say thanks very much to you for compiling all this information for these shows over the summer since we've started doing it. It's always a joy to do. We have good fun on the show, and there's lovely narratives that find their way all the way through all of the shows. So it's a great show to do. I can't wait, honestly, till the next window starts up. We'll probably do a sneaky one or two as stories drop, and there are a few already starting to drop. Like, for example, we could have talked about the story linking us today with a certain Bayern Munich player, but we'll save those kind of things for later. But as ever, man, just hats off for the industry in the background. I see some people acknowledged on Twitter today. It's nice to see that for all the effort that goes in, because there's a lot of talking that you do behind the scenes. A pleasure to do, and I look forward to our next window. Can't come soon enough, to be honest, buddy.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Looking forward to see how it all pans out. It has been fun. There's been a bit of everything, a bit for everyone this summer. Roll on January, eh?
Thanks to everyone out there. Good luck.